Hey, it's Les from the TV Dudes. This week, I was lucky enough to chat with writer and actor Christian A. Pierce. Christian writes and appears on the comedy web series Real Bros of Simi Valley, a hysterical slice of life a hysterical slice of life fictional reality show that's about to start a new season on Facebook Watch. We talk about keeping the show's heart in place even as the budgets increase, how he chose Real Bros as the show idea to pursue among all of the comedy sketches that he's written, and much more. Hope you enjoy. Hey, Christian.
What's going on, Lance? How you doing, man?
Doing great. And thank you so much for making time today. I really appreciate it. I was sitting here this morning
hmm
watching a little bit of Real Bros. That is really good stuff, man. Uh,
Oh, hell yeah.
one of the things that I loved about the show, it follows the format of another one of my favorite things going right now, Letterkenny, uh, which is a quirky little slice of life thing that started on a short YouTube format and then moved into a
I love
yeah,
Letterkenny, dude.
going from
Yeah.
the well, I wanted to talk a little bit about. I know you've got hundreds of sketches. You've got YouTube videos out the wazoo. What was it about Real Bros, or what helped make the math work to focus and hone in on this one? And then I wanted to talk a little bit about moving from that shorter format to the longer form without breaking the joke.
So, what got us started with Real Bros the first time around was there's a few things kind of in that concoction. The first being we'll be watching TV, my partner and I, and we're channel surfing, and we're realizing there's like a lot of reality TV, a lot more than we ever like noticed popping up. And we started realizing that there's like these shows are just such a stretch. Like you have the Real Housewives, okay, you have like you have like You're the Hills, and then we saw like real cops of like some city we never heard of. We saw Housewives of Potomac. We saw there was a TSA reality show in Canada. We were like, oh my God, like anybody can have one of these. And we just kind of had this running joke. We would make up titles of like reality shows that didn't exist. And we were sitting down one day and we really wanted to do a series and kind of break the sketch format a little bit. And we were like, well, if we had a reality parody, what would it be? And like, what do we know? We know Bros. Okay, Real Bros. And we started laughing at that. We're just kind of laughing at what Real Bros might look like. And we're like, all right, where are they from? And my partner and I are both from LA. We both grew up in LA. And so we know like the outer suburban areas where not much is going on. So first it was Real Bros of Valencia. It was like, nah, let's do something else. It was Real Bros of Santa Clarita. And we were like, nah, Santa Clarita Diet just came out. It's too close. And then we kind of like sat on it for like a few hours, and then it just hit us. We were like, Real Bros Simi Valley. That's a place where not much is going on, and we could, really just get the most juice out of that.
Yeah, there was something that was immediately funny to me about the idea of, a bunch of guys watching Jersey Shore and going, "That's not how it is at all, bro." And if they really put cameras on us, we'd show how the real life is. Because I think about like friends of mine that are really into bikes and watched Sons of Anarchy, and were like, "Oh, that's complete crap. We're not like that at all." And I'm like, "Y'all are kind of a lot like that." Um, and and yeah, there was just something immediately that was like, oh yeah, this is right. There's a lot of jokes here to mine. Uh, can you talk about? I know for folks that are into stand-up comedy, that's the go and throw it against the wall and see if it sticks kind of means testing of jokes that you can do to workshop material. When it came to finding the plot lines and finding the things that rose above just making each other giggle, uh, how do you go about kind of workshopping the material to see what makes it into an episode?
Yeah, well, we have a pretty routine writing process, Jimmy and I, because we've just been doing it for so long, and it's whatever we're working on. It's usually the same, where we're almost competing to make each other laugh, and like you could tell when a real like guttural laugh comes out of the other person, and like we both agree on it, and like that's usually what goes down on the page. As far as Real Bros goes, like these are characters that you know they're not based on real people per se, but they're inspired by real people, inspired by real events. So once we got in the mindset of like, okay, this is the world we're going to tackle, then it's just like a joke contest. You kind of plot the bigger story points of like, okay, we have, how many characters we need. We have 4 guys, 2 of them should be brothers. What do they do? We got to have some kind of skate influence, some kind of just like extreme sport, whether it's motocross or stuff you can only do in these kind of areas. And then really just the coming up with, like you said, just throwing stuff at the wall, making it stick. It kind of is like that with us, where we're throwing out plot line ideas, we're throwing out jokes, we're throwing out, maybe it's just lines of dialogue someone said. And sometimes like storylines come from like one line of dialogue. If someone just said like, Simi Valley has the best tacos in the whole world, it's better than Mexico. We might write 3 pages just based on that line if it makes us laugh.
Yeah, watching Bryce pick a fight with a baby was funny, but watching that beef roll on
Yeah.
for that joke just got better and better for me. The when you started to realize that the group was split on like, yeah, I mean, because the baby would win. Well, maybe. And like, oh
Right.
crap, this is going to keep going because there's other people. It's not just Bryce. Like everybody's a little bit into it. uh,
Right.
when it came to jumping to that longer format, uh, did that throw a wrench in the works, or did it feel freeing to jump into that? Did it feel more like the formats you were satirizing to go longer?
Uh, Man, we were so excited. Like that's what we wanted. That's what we've always wanted. Like when Jimmy and I started working together, we were always working towards what we, traditional media that we grew up with.
Mm-hmm.
So we were like making YouTube sketches, and we were doing series like Real Bros. In our heads, it's like a means to an end to some point be able to have a show, have a movie. So when we signed to do it with Facebook, we were so excited that we could almost like unhinge our creativity. Like honestly, like we were kind of kept inside of a box with how much we could do with the YouTube series, just because like production wise, like, things cost money, things take time. Like we were producing it ourselves. So it's like, we can't, pay actors a bunch of money and they don't deserve. Longform was exciting for us. Like we wanted to develop longer stories, and it just gave us more ammo. So it didn't stress us out at all. It just made it more fun, honestly.
Uh, there was a show that's unfortunately not with us anymore, Bajillion Dollar Properties, that I thought was
Yes.
just a great ape of that kind of reality television. I got to interview Kulop Vlasic, the director or producer of Longform, and
yeah, we tried to get her on Real Bro season 2. We couldn't get her.
she is great. And one of the things that surprised me, I went into the interview thinking, wow, I guess you were really ready to take the piss out of reality shows. And no, you got to love them a little bit to learn how they work that well. And so
Yeah.
for y'all, was it fun getting to take the joke past just, I'm going to write a sketch and into the kind of editing things? There's humor in a lot of y'all's episodes in how fast the Dunk Surf commercial cuts, or hearing somebody go, and
Right.
prompt them to start, like the little things that are all the way down to the editing, to the last time somebody could possibly touch it before it goes out streaming to fans, and you're getting in that one last little joke. Was it fun learning the format? Was that something that you guys were aware of when you were sitting and picking through reality shows of, oh, we gotta make sure to throw in these little
man,
flourishes?
most definitely. I think another big part of the inspiration for us, I kind of said this at the beginning, but it was we wanted to parody the genre. One of my first jobs in the industry when I was 18, I started working on The Bachelor pad as a PA. And like that was right around the time that Jimmy and I started doing sketches together on our freshman year of college. So I would like go to work and like come back with these like crazy stories of what I was seeing behind the scenes of reality TV. And then at the same time, we were watching a lot of reality TV. It was blowing up. So it was, it was ubiquitous. It was everywhere. So it's another part of the fun when we get to like exercise our minds. All right, how are we going to parody the genre in a way that's like, clever in the writing process, in the filming process, and in the editing process. Because, a lot of reality TV is constructed in the edit bay. That's where they construct those narratives a lot of times. So we wanted to be able to help it, even though our show was very scripted, we wanted it to look as though some of it was constructed in the edit bay. And every time we hit like some kind of writer's block, we put on reality TV and we'll just watch it for an hour. We'll put on like a few shows, like something gets us laughing in 5 minutes. As soon as something gets us laughing, like that's ridiculous, we hit pause, we go back to the script. So it's been a lot of fun. There's been some annoying times where I'm just watching reality TV and not getting anything. I'm just kind of sucked in, but there's also a lot of fun times, when you get inspired, you hit pause and you hit the paper.
Can you talk a bit about actually producing these things? When you decided to go out and start really focusing on a YouTube channel? I mean, I'm pretty sure everybody who had access to a video camera and any level of goofy friends, which that's every kid now. I'm definitely showing my age. Made videos when we were kids and stuff. But at some point, the ability to get hundreds of millions of viewers requires really playing with YouTube for a little while. I mean, you guys had to really focus on it beyond the fun part of writing it to make each other laugh. Can you talk a bit about kind of putting together a team to do something like that?
Most definitely. The team is just me and Jimmy. And we were in college when it all started, and Jimmy had this idea for this one video he wanted to do. We both were the kids making videos in high school and videos in middle school just with our parents' camcorder or the school's camera, just making little sketches. And we had talked about that. And so when he had this idea for a YouTube video in college, I helped him a little bit. That got a pretty good response. And then, he was like, I want to start getting more serious about this. And I was looking for an outlet for my creativity. I was so into sketches. And I was like, yes, let's do it. So once we agreed that we both wanted to do this, we hit the ground running pretty hard. And, we were in college, but we would meet up almost every single day. And if we weren't writing, we were shooting. And if we weren't shooting, we were editing. If we weren't editing, we were writing. Like it was a constant cycle of some kind of the production happening. Or, we were producing, like getting actors, our friends to act in it, buying props with the little money we had at the time. And, we knew there was money involved, and we wanted to definitely, get to a point where this could be, earn a sustainable living, where this is all we could do. So that was like one part of the driving force. The other driving force, I think, was we just had these ideas we wanted to get out. We wanted to see them happen. So, growing the YouTube channel and figuring out all the kinks and, figuring out collaborating with people and how to produce sketches on no money and, a college kid schedule was half the fire. And the other half was we just love the jokes we come up with together. So with those two combined, it was a very busy, very fun learning process for us. We took a lot of L's. We had to learn the hard way with a lot of things. We pretty much taught ourselves how to produce a project just by trial and error. And we take that with us with Real Bros too. It's really funny. I'm on set every day, and it still kind of feels like what we were doing in college, just bigger. We're still we're involved in every process, every part of the process, from the writing to the casting to, props. Like we have our hands in everything. So I'm really grateful that we had the experience we did building a YouTube channel, because it's helped us transition so well.
I know for producers that I've talked to, that ability to look at a script, whether it's a action movie or comedy or what, and have a ballpark in your head of what that costs on page, or that's
right.
No, this scene's going to be, we can't do that for this this money. As a comedy writer, you talked about getting to increase your scope, and you getting a little bit of that Facebook backing and going in the longer format. Are there jokes that you kind of had to put on the shelf in college of like, I hope someday I have a show where we could explore that that you're getting
Dude,
to kind of pull off
all
the shelf
the time. Oh my God, all the time, bro. It's the most satisfying feeling when we get to pull jokes off the shelf that we can finally afford to do now. And we actually started, dude, I can't tell you how satisfying that is, but we actually started doing that like during the YouTube days. Like, we would come up with an idea, when we were 19, 20, that was just so hilarious. but it was just like it was impossible for us to produce almost without like backing of some sort. And we also like didn't know how production wise to do these things. And then we started hitting points where we have this. Jimmy and I have this like long book of sketch concepts. I did one book, but like a long few pages of sketch concepts. There's probably like 50 concepts on there, and we're constantly adding to it. And what we do when we sit down, what we were doing when we were producing sketches is we sit down like a few times a week and look at the list and be like, all right, what do we want to do? What can we do? And, you know, those more bigger production value ones kind of get left on there. But as the years kind of rolled on, we'd be like, wait a second, we can do this one now. We'd go back a few pages, like we can do this one now. We have the means to do this. We have the resources. One of my favorite sketches we got to do like that was, I think we must have been like sophomores in college when we started playing like fantasy football pretty seriously. And we had this idea of like, what if the refs were playing fantasy football too? And they just were like rigging the game to help win their fantasy leagues. And we just were cracking up and writing down all these jokes for it. But, you know, what are we going to do? Rent a football field? What are we going to do? Get a bunch of football gear and people to jump in it? And how would we shoot that? It was just like no way to do it. And then I think like 3 years later, we were like, oh my God, like we can do this. And now it's like, I think it's like one of our like most watched videos on the YouTube channel. It's called If NFL Refs Played Fantasy Football. And we definitely do stuff like that with Real Bros too, where we're looking at our old jokes and we're like, oh wait, we could fit this here. And it's so awesome. There's definitely some stuff we still can't do, and I'm looking forward to doing, but it is a great feeling, man, to have that backing and know that you have resources to make those old great ideas work.
Yeah, I mean, even something like Bryson Hawk's beef. Uh, you know, in my
Yeah,
20s, I didn't know anybody with a baby hanging around. Like, whose
right.
baby would we get? Um, you know,
Exactly.
like
We
that's
do so many baby sketches we couldn't do.
yeah. It's like great, whose kid? Because that's none of us know anybody that's
Right.
gonna let us take a baby. uh,
We actually it's funny you said that because we wrote that like, you know, we just wrote it and like we didn't realize like what goes into that until we started producing like pre-production. We're like, oh shit, this is gonna take like there has to be like a, you know, parents on set. We can only have these babies for a certain amount of time, and we're like, oh yeah, how are we gonna like get him like in these clothes? And like, how are we gonna do all? We just like we didn't even realize how much work it was gonna take. Thank God those baby actors we had were insanely mild tempered and so cool and so cooperative. But yeah, it's one of those things that you write because it's funny and it works, and you don't realize how much work it's gonna take until you like a few days before set.
yeah, that's great. Do we know an animal trainer? Uh, is everybody good with
Right?
that?
Exactly.
Have you had anything that you feel like new avenues of jokes that are opening up, not necessarily stuff you're pulling off the shelf, but just as you settle into more of these hats that you have to wear? Are you finding as a comedy writer that it's opening up for you?
Yeah, I try not to get too. It's because like right once you have a joke that takes some work to make it happen on screen, and and it happens. I try to lean on the fact that like that success rate because it'll just make me start writing a bunch of crazy stuff. But it is cool now that we can write things like and then Kevin Hart shows up and he's playing himself. Stuff that we would normally shy away from because it seems impossible. Like in this season of Real Bros, we have them going to, I'm not going to say where, they get international though. The Real Bros get international. And I remember we were writing it, like every day we work on the script, like, can we even do this? Like, can we make somewhere look like it's a different country? And, can we get a full cast and crew there? So it's definitely like expanded my imagination of like what's possible. But I try not to lean on it too hardcore. Otherwise, I think we'd have aliens and spaceships in every single episode of whatever we do.
Yeah, and
We'd get crazy.
that's not the guaranteed core of humor or something. It's you don't have to have spaceships or have to have the high budget
Right.
stuff to be
I think
funny.
right. Jim and I just think it's funny to have ridiculously high budget things pop into ridiculously low budget settings. So we're always playing with that kind of contrast.
Well, folks can watch season 3 coming out, I guess Valentine's Day this year. So not too long to wait.
Valentine's Day, yep.
And folks can go and check out season 1 is just 7 minutes or so per episode, and they're great. And then season 2 just deepens it all. I'd recommend everybody go take a little bit of time and check this out. Thanks so much for talking to me about it today, Christian. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, man. I appreciate taking time out. This was fun.
Have a great rest of your day.
You too, man.
The TV Dudes is an independently run podcast and a member of the Electric Sweater Podcast Network. We are exclusively listener supported. If you'd like to help us out, go to patreon.com/tvdudes. You can like us on Facebook and Twitter @TVDudes. All the music for our show is by our friend and original TV dude, Gregory J. Amani Smith. To find out more about us, go to thetvdudes.com and electricsweater.com. I'm Grant Davis. Thanks for listening.